Deep under the vast dark waters of the Pacific Ocean, something strange waited to be found. For years, marine biologist Rachel Monroe had been studying the ocean floor, searching for clues about Earth's past. She loved her work, diving into uncharted depths and uncovering secrets hidden beneath layers of silt and coral. But nothing could have prepared her for what she was about to discover. It started with a routine survey. Rachel and her team were mapping the seabed near an area known for its unusual geological formations. The equipment they used sent sound waves deep into the water, bouncing back images of the ocean floor. As the data streamed in, one of the technicians noticed something odd, a massive structure buried under centuries of sediment. At first, they thought it might be a sunken ship or perhaps an underwater mountain. But as they analyzed the readings more closely, it became clear that this was no ordinary object. Rachel felt a mix of excitement and unease. "This is huge," she said to her assistant Mark. "Whatever it is, it's not natural." The shape was too precise, too symmetrical. It looked like it had been built by intelligent hands. Curiosity drove them to investigate further. They deployed a remotely operated vehicle, ROV, equipped with cameras and lights to get a closer look. As the ROV descended deeper into the murky waters, the tension aboard their research vessel grew. Everyone gathered around the monitors, watching intently as the camera panned over the mysterious structure. What they saw left them speechless. Rising from the seabed was an enormous hull, sleek and metallic, stretching farther than the eye could see. It didn't resemble any ship Rachel had ever studied. There were no rusted plates or barnacles clinging to its surface, just smooth, gleaming metal that seemed untouched by time. "It's perfect," Mark whispered, his voice filled with awe. "How is this even possible?" Rachel nodded, her mind racing. Something about the design felt familiar yet alien at the same time. It wasn't until the ROV captured a close-up of the bow that the truth began to sink in. This wasn't just a relic of human engineering. It was far more advanced than anything humanity had created. Whoever, or whatever, had built this vessel possessed technology light years ahead of modern science. Word of the discovery spread quickly. Back on land, military advisor Jack Harper received a call late at night. He was used to dealing with classified matters, but this was different. Satellite imagery confirmed the existence of the structure, and initial reports suggested it was far larger than any aircraft carrier in the world. The implications were staggering. If this thing was operational, it could change everything. Jack wasted no time assembling a task force to investigate. Within days, he arrived at the research vessel, where Rachel and her team were stationed. Tall and broad-shouldered, Jack carried himself with authority, though his piercing blue eyes betrayed a hint of curiosity. He introduced himself to Rachel and asked for a briefing. As she explained what they'd found so far, Jack listened carefully, asking questions that showed he wasn't just another bureaucrat sent to take charge. "You think this belongs to us?" Jack asked after Rachel finished speaking. "To humans, I mean." "I don't know," Rachel admitted. "The design doesn't match anything we've seen before, but it feels human, like it was made by someone who understood our way of thinking." Jack frowned. "Or someone who wanted us to think that." His words gave Rachel pause. Until now, she'd been focused solely on the scientific aspects of the discovery. But Jack's perspective opened up new possibilities. Could this be some kind of trap? Or worse, a weapon? Whatever the case, they needed answers. And fast. With Jack's help, the team prepared to explore the interior of the vessel. Divers equipped with specialized gear entered the water, guided by the ROV's cameras. Inside, they found a labyrinth of corridors and chambers, each more astonishing than the last. The walls shimmered faintly, emitting a soft glow that illuminated their path. Strange symbols adorned the surfaces, pulsating gently as if alive. At the heart of the ship lay a massive chamber unlike anything they'd encountered before. In the center stood a console covered in intricate patterns, surrounded by holographic displays that flickered erratically. Rachel approached cautiously, her heart pounding in her chest. She reached out and touched the console, half expecting it to shock her. Instead, the entire room sprang to life. Lights blazed across the ceiling, casting brilliant beams that danced along the walls. Machines whirred to life, and panels slid open to reveal rows of controls. Holograms projected star maps and tactical data, filling the air with dazzling visuals. It was overwhelming, yet exhilarating. For the first time, Rachel realized the true scale of what they'd uncovered. "This isn't just a ship," she murmured, turning to Jack. "It's a supercarrier, and it's been here for centuries." But as amazing as the discovery was, it also brought danger. Somewhere out there, unknown, forces were watching. The activation of the ship's systems had sent signals rippling through space, alerting anyone or anything listening. Jack knew they were running out of time. Whoever owned this vessel would come looking for it soon. Back on the research vessel, Rachel and Jack reviewed the data they'd collected. Among the logs stored within the ship's memory banks, they found fragments of information that hinted at its origins. It appeared to belong to an ancient human civilization. One, thought lost to history. This revelation shook them to their core. If true, it meant humanity's roots went far deeper than anyone had imagined. As night fell over the Pacific, Rachel stared out at the endless expanse of water. Her mind buzzed with questions. Who had built this ship? Why had it been abandoned? And most importantly, what did it mean for humanity's future? One thing was certain. The emergence of this hidden supercarrier would change everything, for better or worse. Jack joined her on deck, his expression grim. "We've opened Pandora's box," he said quietly. "Now we need to figure out how to handle what comes next." Rachel nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility settle heavily on her shoulders. They had awakened a sleeping giant, and the galaxy was about to take notice. The discovery of the supercarrier, which they had named the Leviathan, was both thrilling and terrifying. Every day brought new revelations, but also new dangers. Rachel Monroe and Jack Harper knew they were standing at the edge of something monumental, something that could change humanity forever. But as they delved deeper into the mysteries of the ship, they couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. Inside the Leviathan, the team worked tirelessly to understand its systems. The ship was vast, far larger than any aircraft carrier ever built, and its technology defied explanation. The corridors stretched endlessly, filled with glowing panels and holographic displays that seemed to hum with energy. It felt alive, almost as if it were waiting for someone to take command. For Rachel, it was a scientist's dream come true. For Jack, it was a potential nightmare. One morning, Rachel stood in front of the central console in the control room. She had spent hours studying the strange symbols etched into its surface, trying to decipher their meaning. Mark, her assistant, hovered nearby, taking notes on his tablet. Jack leaned against a wall, arms crossed, watching silently as the team worked. "Do you think we're close to figuring this out?" Jack asked finally, breaking the silence. Rachel hesitated. "I'm not sure. This isn't like anything we've seen before. It's designed to be understood, but only by someone who knows the language." Mark nodded. "It's weird. Some of these symbols look familiar, like they're based on math or physics, but others are completely alien." Jack frowned. "Alien? You mean not human?" "I don't know," Rachel admitted. "Maybe. Or maybe it's from an ancient human civilization. Either way, we're dealing with something far beyond us." As she spoke, her fingers brushed against one of the glowing panels. Suddenly, the entire room lit up. Lights flashed across the walls, and the holographic displays sprang to life, projecting images of star maps and complex diagrams. Alarms blared, startling everyone. Rachel stepped back, her heart racing. "What did you do?" Jack demanded, moving closer. "I didn't mean to," Rachel stammered. "I just touched it." Before anyone could react, a deep, resonant voice echoed through the chamber. It wasn't coming from any visible source. It seemed to emanate from the walls themselves. The voice spoke in a language none of them recognized, a series of melodic tones and clicks that sent shivers down their spines. "Is that the ship talking?" Mark whispered, his eyes wide. It has to be, Rachel said, her voice trembling. But what is it saying? Jack pulled out his radio and called for backup. We need linguists down here now, he barked, and engineers. Something big just happened. Over the next few hours, the team scrambled to make sense of what had occurred. Engineers like Daniel Carter arrived to examine the ship's systems, while linguist Laura Bennett worked to decode the mysterious language. Slowly, they began piecing together fragments of information. The Leviathan wasn't just a warship. It was a mobile fortress capable of incredible feats. Its weapon systems were unmatched, its engines powerful enough to travel between stars. But there was more. It had the ability to terraform planets, create wormholes, and defend against entire fleets. This thing is unbelievable, Daniel muttered as he studied the schematics. It's like a city in space. A weapon, a shield, and a home all rolled into one. Laura nodded, her brow furrowed in concentration. And whoever built it left behind instructions. Lots of them. It's like they wanted someone to find it someday. But why? Rachel asked. Why leave something this powerful sitting at the bottom of the ocean? No one had an answer. But as they dug deeper, they discovered logs buried within the ship's memory banks. These logs revealed glimpses of the past, images of a thriving human civilization, advanced and prosperous, spreading across the stars. It was a vision of humanity unlike anything they had imagined. Yet there were also warnings, hints of a great conflict that had forced this civilization to retreat. The Leviathan appeared to be one of their last creations, hidden away for safekeeping. This changes everything, Jack said grimly. If other civilizations out there know about this ship, they'll come looking for it. And when they do, they won't care who gets in their way. His words hung heavy in the air. They all knew he was right. Activating the Leviathan had sent signals rippling through space, alerting unknown entities to its presence. Already, satellites orbiting Earth had detected strange objects entering the solar system. Probes, drones, and ships from distant worlds. Humanity was no longer alone. Despite the looming threat, Rachel refused to give up hope. She believed the Leviathan held the key to a brighter future, not just for Earth but for all intelligent life. If used wisely, it could bring peace and prosperity to the galaxy. But first they needed to prove they were worthy of such power. We have to show them we're ready, Rachel insisted during a meeting with Jack and the rest of the team. If we act recklessly, we'll provoke a war we can't win. But if we approach this carefully, we might earn their respect. Jack agreed, though reluctantly. Respect doesn't always stop bullets or plasma cannons. We need to prepare for the worst. Preparations began immediately. The Leviathan's systems were tested and retested, its weapons calibrated, its shields reinforced. Engineers worked around the clock to ensure every function was operational. Meanwhile, diplomats and scientists collaborated to craft messages of peace, hoping to establish communication with the approaching alien forces. Days turned into weeks, and the tension aboard the Leviathan grew palpable. Everyone knew the moment of truth was near. Then, one evening, alarms blared throughout the ship. The crew rushed to the control room where Laura stood staring at a screen displaying incoming data. "They're here," she said softly. "Multiple contacts, closing fast." Jack took charge, barking orders as the team sprang into action. The Leviathan ascended from the depths of the ocean, breaking through the waves and rising into the sky. For the first time in centuries, the ancient Supercarrier returned to the heavens, its sleek form cutting through clouds as it soared toward the stars. On board, Rachel gazed out at the earth below, her heart swelling with pride and fear. She thought of the billions of people counting on them, unaware of the danger lurking just beyond the horizon. The Leviathan was their only hope, a symbol of humanity's potential and resilience. As the ship entered orbit, the first alien probe appeared on their scanners. It was small but fast, darting around the Leviathan as if inspecting it. Laura tried to communicate, broadcasting messages in various languages. At first, there was no response. Then, unexpectedly, the probe transmitted a signal of its own. It's responding, Laura exclaimed, her voice tinged with excitement. They're listening. The signal contained a message encoded in a format similar to the one used by the Leviathan. Working together, Laura and the team deciphered it. The probe belonged to a race called the Valans, explorers who had detected the ship's activation and come to investigate. They viewed Earth as insignificant, a primitive world unworthy of attention. But the Leviathan had changed their perspective. They want to talk, Laura told Jack and Rachel. They're curious about us. Jack nodded. Let's give them something to be curious about. Under Rachel's guidance, the crew prepared to meet the Valans face to face. Through holograms and visual aids, they shared their story, the discovery of the Leviathan, their desire for peace and their hopes for the future. The Valans listened intently, their expressions unreadable. When the exchange ended, the Valans departed, leaving behind a warning. Other races would soon learn of Earth's newfound power, and not all of them would react kindly. Before vanishing into the void, they offered advice. Prepare for war because neutrality wouldn't save them. As the Leviathan drifted silently in orbit, Rachel felt a mix of dread and determination. The galaxy was vast and dangerous, full of wonders and threats alike, but she believed humanity could rise to the challenge. With the Leviathan as their ally, they had a chance, not just to survive, but to thrive. Jack placed a hand on her shoulder. You did good, Rachel, but this is just the beginning. She smiled faintly. Yeah, let's hope we're ready for what comes next. The warning from the Valans echoed in Rachel Monroe's mind as she stood on the bridge of the Leviathan. She stared out at the vast expanse of space, her thoughts racing. Humanity had taken its first steps into the unknown, but the galaxy wasn't, waiting to welcome them with open arms. Instead, it loomed ahead like a dark storm full of danger and uncertainty. The Valans' parting words had been clear. If Earth wanted to survive, it would need to prepare for war. Back on Earth, news of the Leviathan's discovery and activation spread like wildfire. Governments around the world convened emergency meetings, scrambling to decide how to handle this unprecedented situation. Some leaders saw the Leviathan as a tool for dominance, a way to assert humanity's place among the stars. Others feared that revealing its existence would invite retaliation from more powerful alien civilizations. The debate grew heated, with nations divided over what to do next. Jack Harper found himself caught in the middle of the chaos. As a military advisor, he was tasked with ensuring the Leviathan's capabilities were used wisely. But balancing political agendas with practical strategy proved nearly impossible. Every decision felt like walking a tightrope, one wrong step away from disaster. He knew time was running out. If humanity didn't present a united front, they would be vulnerable when the inevitable confrontation came. Rachel, meanwhile, focused on rallying support for a peaceful approach. She believed the Leviathan could serve as more than just a weapon. It could be a symbol of hope and cooperation. During a global summit held via video conference, she addressed world leaders, her voice steady despite the weight of the moment. We've been given an incredible opportunity, she said, her eyes scanning the faces of those listening. But this isn't just about us. It's about showing the galaxy that we're ready to join the community of intelligent species, not as conquerors, but as equals. Her words resonated with some, particularly President William Hayes, who had long advocated for diplomacy over aggression. He stood up during the meeting, his expression serious but hopeful. Dr. Monroe is right, he declared. We can't let fear dictate our actions. This ship represents the best of what humanity can achieve. Let's use it to build bridges, not walls. Not everyone agreed. Several nations argued that Earth needed to prioritize defense, even if it meant abandoning diplomatic efforts altogether. Tensions flared, and for a while it seemed like no consensus would be reached. But Rachel refused to give up. With Jack's help, she organized smaller discussions, bringing together scientists, engineers, and diplomats to brainstorm solutions. One breakthrough came when Daniel Carter, the lead engineer, suggested forming a specialized crew to operate the Leviathan. This ship is too advanced for just anyone to handle, he explained. We need people who understand its systems inside and out. and we need them working together as a team. The idea gained traction quickly. A call went out worldwide for experts in various fields: pilots, linguists, strategists, and technicians. Among those selected were Laura Bennett, whose expertise in alien languages made her invaluable; Mark Evans, a skilled pilot known for his calm under pressure; and Emily Dawson, a brilliant physicist who had already contributed significantly to understanding the Leviathan's power core. As the crew assembled aboard the ship, Rachel felt a renewed sense of purpose. For the first time since the discovery, she saw a glimmer of unity among humanity's fractured factions. These individuals, representing different nations and backgrounds, shared a common goal: to protect Earth and pave the way for a brighter future. Training began immediately. The Leviathan's systems were complex, requiring hours of study and practice to master. Engineers worked tirelessly to fine-tune the ship's weapons, shields, and propulsion systems, ensuring they were battle-ready. Pilots practiced maneuvers in simulated environments, learning how to navigate the massive vessel through asteroid fields and gravitational anomalies. Meanwhile, linguists like Laura studied every scrap of data recovered from the ship's memory banks, searching for clues about potential allies or enemies. Despite the progress, challenges remained. Not all nations trusted the newly formed crew or the decisions being made. Some governments demanded greater control over the Leviathan, threatening to withdraw their support if their demands weren't met. Jack spent countless hours mediating disputes, trying to keep everyone on the same page. It was exhausting work, but he knew failure wasn't an option. Then there was the issue of public opinion. News outlets around the world covered the story relentlessly, speculating about everything from alien invasions to secret government conspiracies. Fear spread faster than facts, leading to protests and unrest in several cities. Rachel often appeared on television to reassure people, emphasizing the importance of staying calm and united. "This is a moment of great change," she told viewers during one interview. "Yes, there are risks, but there are also opportunities. Together, we can face whatever comes our way." Her optimism inspired many, though skeptics remained. Critics accused her of downplaying the dangers, warning that humanity was unprepared for the realities of interstellar conflict. Even within the crew, doubts lingered. Some wondered if they were truly ready to confront the unknown. Amidst the turmoil, a new development gave everyone pause. Aegis, the artificial intelligence governing the Leviathan, began providing insights into the ship's history. Through fragmented logs and holographic projections, the crew learned more about the ancient human civilization that had built it. They discovered that this civilization hadn't vanished entirely. It had simply retreated, leaving behind artifacts like the Leviathan to aid future generations. They knew something big was coming, Emily said during a briefing, something they couldn't fight alone. That's why they hid this ship, to give us a fighting chance. The revelation reinforced Rachel's belief that the Leviathan was meant to unite humanity, not divide it. She urged the crew to focus on their mission, reminding them of the stakes. "This isn't just about saving Earth," she said. "It's about proving that we're worthy of carrying on their legacy." As weeks passed, the crew grew closer, forging bonds that transcended borders and backgrounds. They trained together, ate together, and faced challenges together. Slowly but surely, they transformed from strangers into a cohesive unit. Even Jack, who had initially been skeptical of Rachel's idealism, began to see the value in her vision. Then, one day, sensors detected movement near the edge of the solar system. Multiple ships, larger and more menacing than the Valen probe, were approaching Earth. Their designs were unfamiliar, their intentions unclear. But one thing was certain: they were coming for the Leviathan. Jack gathered the crew in the control room, his expression grim. "This is it," he said. "Whatever happens next will define us, for better or worse." Rachel nodded, her resolve unwavering. "We've prepared for this. We'll show them what humanity is capable of." The Leviathan's engines roared to life as the crew braced for the encounter. For the first time, Earth's hidden Supercarrier emerged fully into the galactic stage, ready to face whatever lay ahead. The moment of truth had arrived. The Leviathan hovered silently in orbit, its sleek hull reflecting the faint light of distant stars. On board, the crew prepared for their first real encounter with an alien fleet. Sensors showed multiple ships, approaching Earth's solar system, their designs unlike anything humanity had ever seen. They were large, angular, and bristling with weapons. The tension aboard the ship was palpable, but Rachel Monroe refused to let fear take hold. "We've trained for this," she said firmly, addressing the crew gathered in the control room. "We know what we're capable of. Let's show them that humanity isn't afraid." Jack Harper stood nearby, his eyes fixed on the holographic display showing the incoming ships. He nodded in agreement but kept his thoughts to himself. This wasn't just a test of courage, it was a test of strategy. One wrong move could mean disaster. He turned to Laura Bennett, who was seated at her station analyzing the aliens' communication signals. "Anything yet?" Jack asked. Laura shook her head. "Not much. Their language is complex and their transmissions are encrypted, but I'm picking up patterns, repeated phrases, maybe commands or identifiers." "Keep working on it," Jack replied. "If we can understand them, we might find a way to avoid conflict." Meanwhile, Mark Evans, the pilot, ran through pre-flight checks in the cockpit. His hands moved deftly over the controls, ensuring every system was operational. Emily Dawson monitored the ship's energy levels from her station, her face tense with concentration. Everyone had a role to play, and they all knew how high the stakes were. As the alien fleet drew closer, Aegis, the ship's artificial intelligence, provided updates in a calm, neutral voice. Enemy vessels detected at range 50,000 kilometers. Speed, 2,000 kilometers per second. Estimated time to intercept 25 minutes. Rachel glanced at Jack. "What's the plan?" Jack took a deep breath. "We don't fire unless fired upon. We try to communicate first. If they respond, we negotiate. If not, we defend ourselves." Rachel nodded. It was a risky strategy, but it aligned with her belief in peaceful resolution. She turned to Laura. "Are you ready to broadcast our message again?" "Yes," Laura said, her voice steady despite the pressure. "I'll use the same format as before, but I'll add more visuals, images of Earth, our people, our culture. Maybe they'll see we're not a threat." With a nod from Jack, Laura initiated the transmission. Holographic projections filled the air, showing scenes of Earth's cities, forests, and oceans. Music played softly in the background, a symphony composed by one of humanity's greatest artists. Alongside the visuals, Laura included written messages in multiple languages, including the alien script they had deciphered earlier. For several agonizing minutes, there was no response. The alien ships continued their approach, their movements deliberate and precise. Then suddenly one of the vessels slowed down, its engines dimmed, and a new signal appeared on the sensors. "They're responding," Laura exclaimed, her voice tinged with excitement. The crew leaned forward as the alien message came through. It was a series of symbols and sounds, accompanied by a holographic image of what appeared to be their leader, a tall insect-like being with shimmering exoskeleton and multifaceted eyes. Laura worked quickly to translate the message, her fingers flying across her keyboard. "They're asking who we are," she said finally, "and why we've activated this ship." Rachel stepped forward. "Tell them we're human, that this ship belongs to our ancestors and we've only recently rediscovered it. Let them know we mean no harm." Laura relayed the response, adding more visuals to emphasize humanity's peaceful intentions. The alien leader studied the transmission for a moment, then responded. This time, the message was clearer, almost conversational. "They want to know if we're aligned with other factions in the galaxy," Laura explained, "specifically the Krill Empire." Jack frowned. "Who or what are the Krill?" "I don't know," Rachel admitted. "But based on their tone, I think they're trouble." Laura nodded. "The Valens mentioned them too. They're a powerful, aggressive race. From what I can gather, these aliens aren't allies. They're rivals." Jack thought for a moment. "Let's keep things simple. Tell them we're neutral. We don't have any ties to the Krill or anyone else. Laura transmitted the response and the alien leader seemed satisfied. For now. After a brief exchange, the fleet began retreating, their ships disappearing into the void. The crew let out a collective sigh of relief, though no one dared to celebrate just yet. "That went better than expected," Rachel said cautiously. "But we're not out of the woods yet." "You're right," Jack agreed. "Those aliens may have backed off, but they warned us about the Krill for a reason. If the Krill find out about the Leviathan, they won't hesitate to attack." Over the next few days, the crew worked tirelessly to prepare for the worst. Engineers fine-tuned the ship's weapon systems, while pilots practiced evasive maneuvers in simulated combat scenarios. Laura continued decoding alien languages, hoping to learn more about potential threats. Meanwhile, Rachel focused on strengthening alliances back on Earth, urging world leaders to support the Leviathan's mission. During one briefing, Emily Dawson made a startling discovery. While examining the ship's core, she noticed a hidden compartment containing additional data logs. These logs revealed more about the Krill Empire, a ruthless civilization bent on domination. According to the records, the Krill viewed advanced technology as a resource to be seized regardless of the cost. They had already conquered dozens of worlds, enslaving entire populations in their quest for power. "This changes everything," Emily said grimly. "If the Krill come for us, they won't stop until they have the Leviathan, and possibly Earth itself." Rachel felt a chill run down her spine. "Then we need to be ready. Not just to fight, but to protect what matters most." Jack nodded. "Agreed, but fighting alone won't be enough. We need allies, other species willing to stand with us against the Krill." Rachel turned to Laura. "Can you reach out to the aliens we met? See if they'd consider helping us?" Laura hesitated. "It's possible, but diplomacy takes time, and we don't know how long we have before the Krill arrive." "Do what you can," Jack instructed. "In the meantime, we fortify our defenses and stay alert." As the days passed, the crew grew more united, their shared purpose binding them together. They trained harder, worked longer hours, and supported each other through moments of doubt. Even Jack, who had always been skeptical of Rachel's idealism, began to see the value in her vision. Together they were proving that humanity could rise to the challenge. Then, one evening, alarms blared throughout the ship. Aegis's voice echoed through the corridors. "Multiple contacts detected. Hostile intent confirmed. Incoming vessels identified as Krill warships." The crew rushed to their stations, adrenaline coursing through their veins. On the holographic display, the Krill fleet loomed large, dozens of ships, each larger and more menacing than the last. Their weapons glowed ominously, ready to strike. "They're here," Jack said, his voice firm. "Stay sharp, everyone. Remember your training." Rachel clenched her fists, determination burning in her chest. "This is it," she whispered. "Let's show them what humanity is made of." The battle lines were drawn, and Earth's fate hung in the balance. The Krill fleet approached Earth's solar system with terrifying speed. Their ships were massive, jagged structures that seemed to absorb the light around them, casting long shadows across space. The Leviathan's sensors tracked their movements, showing dozens of vessels spreading out in a calculated formation. It was clear they weren't here to negotiate. They had come for war. On board the Leviathan, the crew braced themselves for the inevitable clash. Jack Harper stood at the center of the control room, his eyes scanning the holographic displays that showed the Krill fleet closing in. His voice cut through the tension as he issued orders. "Activate shields," he commanded. "Prepare all weapon systems. Pilots, get ready for evasive maneuvers." Mark Evans gripped the controls in the cockpit, his knuckles white. He had practiced countless simulations, but nothing could prepare him for the reality of facing an alien armada. Still, he forced himself to focus, knowing that every second counted. Emily Dawson monitored the ship's energy levels from her station. Her face was pale, but her hands moved steadily as she adjusted power allocations. "Shields are online," she reported. "Weapons charged and ready." Rachel Monroe watched silently, her heart pounding. She had hoped for peace, but now it was clear that diplomacy wouldn't be an option. The Krill were relentless, and they wouldn't stop until they took what they wanted. As much as it pained her, Rachel knew they had no choice but to fight. "They're within firing range," Aegis announced, its calm voice a stark contrast to the chaos unfolding around them. Enemy weapons primed. Without warning, the Krill opened fire. Bright beams of energy streaked toward the Leviathan, striking its shields with devastating force. The impact shook the ship, sending vibrations rippling through the hull. Alarms blared, and red lights flashed across the control. "Room, hold steady!" Jack shouted over the noise. "Return fire!"
Mark maneuvered the Leviathan with precision, dodging incoming attacks while lining up counterstrikes. The ship's automated turrets roared to life, unleashing bursts of plasma that tore through the void. Several Krill fighters exploded in brilliant
flashes of light, but the enemy fleet was vast and their numbers seemed endless. "They're overwhelming us," Emily cried, her voice trembling. "Our shields can't take much more." Rachel stepped forward, her mind racing. There had to be a way to turn the tide. She glanced at the holographic display, studying the Krill formation. Something caught her eye, a pattern in their movements, almost like a weakness. "Jack," she said urgently, "look at their flagship. It's directing the others. If we can disable it, the rest might fall apart." Jack nodded grimly. "It's risky, but it's our best shot. Mark, take us in closer. We need to hit that thing hard." Mark swallowed hard but obeyed, steering the Leviathan directly into the heart of the battle. Enemy fire intensified, battering the ship's shields as they closed the distance. Sparks flew from consoles in the control room and smoke filled the air, but the crew pressed on, determined not to give up. Laura Bennett worked frantically at her station, trying to intercept the Krill's communications. If she could jam their signals or disrupt their coordination, it might give the Leviathan an edge. Her fingers flew across the keyboard as lines of code scrolled across her screen. "I'm in," she exclaimed suddenly. "I've hacked into their command network. I can scramble their targeting systems." "Do it," Jack ordered. With Laura's interference, the Krill attacks became less accurate, giving Mark more room to maneuver. Seizing the opportunity, he positioned the Leviathan directly behind the flagship. Emily activated the ship's main cannon, a powerful weapon capable of piercing even the toughest armor. "Firing now," Emily shouted, pressing the trigger. A beam of pure energy shot forth, slamming into the Krill flagship with incredible force. The massive vessel shuddered violently, its engines sputtering as flames erupted from its hull. For a moment it seemed like the battle might finally tilt in humanity's favor. But the Krill weren't done yet. With their flagship crippled, the remaining ships regrouped, forming a tight circle around the Leviathan. Trapped, the crew braced for another wave of attacks. Shields flickered dangerously low, and parts of the ship began failing under the strain. "We can't keep this up," Emily said, her voice cracking. "We're running out of options." Rachel clenched her fists, refusing to accept defeat. She turned to Daniel Carter, who was monitoring the ship's core. "Daniel, what about the self-destruct mechanism? Could we use it as a threat?" Daniel hesitated, his expression grim. "It's possible, but if we activate it, we'll only have minutes before the entire ship is destroyed. And there's no guarantee they'll back down." "It's a risk we'll have to take," Rachel said firmly. "If we don't act now, we're finished anyway." Jack considered her words, then nodded. "Do it. Prepare the sequence, but don't trigger it yet. Let's see if we can bluff them." Daniel worked quickly, initiating the countdown process. Meanwhile, Jack addressed the Krill fleet over a wideband transmission. Using fragments of their language decoded by Laura, he delivered a simple message. "Withdraw, or we destroy this ship and everything on it." For a tense moment, there was no response. Then slowly the Krill ships began pulling back, their formations breaking apart. It wasn't surrender, but it was enough. They weren't willing to risk losing the Leviathan entirely. As the enemy retreated, the crew let out a collective sigh of relief. Exhaustion washed over them, but there was no time to celebrate. Damage reports poured in from every corner of the ship, and repairs would take days, if not weeks, to complete. Rachel sank into a chair, her body heavy with fatigue. She looked around at the crew, their faces etched with determination and pride. Despite the odds, they had held their ground. Humanity had faced its first real test among the stars, and it had passed. Jack approached her, placing a hand on her shoulder. "You did good, Rachel, we all did. But this isn't over. The krill will be back." "I know," Rachel replied softly. "But next time, we'll be ready." For now, though, they had won a crucial victory. The Leviathan remained intact, its secrets still safe. And somewhere deep inside, Rachel allowed herself a small spark of hope. This battle had shown the galaxy one thing: humanity wasn't weak. They were survivors, fighters, and dreamers, and they weren't going anywhere. The aftermath of the battle left the Leviathan battered but still operational. The crew worked tirelessly to repair the damage, their movements fueled by adrenaline and sheer willpower. Sparks flew in the engine room as engineers patched up ruptured conduits while others welded breaches in the hull. In the control room, Rachel Monroe stared at the holographic displays showing the retreating krill fleet. Though they had driven the invaders away, she knew this was only a temporary reprieve. The krill would return, and next time they might bring even greater forces. Jack Harper stood beside her, his face lined with exhaustion, but his eyes sharp. "We need to send a message," he said firmly, "not just to the krill, but to everyone out there. Humanity isn't afraid to stand its ground." Rachel nodded, understanding what he meant. The galaxy needed to see that Earth wasn't a target. It was a force to be reckoned with. But how could they achieve that without provoking more hostility? She turned to Laura Bennett, who was reviewing intercepted communications from the krill fleet. "Laura, do we know anything about their weaknesses?" Rachel asked. "Any vulnerabilities we can exploit?" Laura hesitated, scrolling through data on her screen. "Their ships rely heavily on centralized command networks. If we disrupt those, it cripples their coordination. That's why scrambling. Their signals gave us an edge earlier." Daniel Carter chimed in from his station. "What if we build something permanent, a way to jam their systems whenever they come near?" "It's possible," Emily Dawson added, joining the conversation. "But it would take time, and resources we don't have much of." Jack crossed his arms, thinking hard. "Then we focus on defense for now. Strengthen our shields, upgrade our weapons. Make sure the Leviathan is ready for round 2. The crew got to work immediately. Engineers like Daniel and Emily pored over schematics, finding ways to enhance the ship's capabilities. Pilots practiced new combat maneuvers, learning how to outmaneuver larger enemy vessels. Meanwhile, Laura continued decoding alien languages, hoping to uncover intelligence that could give them an advantage. As repairs progressed, President William Hayes addressed the world via a live broadcast. Standing before a backdrop of stars, he spoke with quiet confidence. "Today, humanity took its first steps into the galactic stage. We faced a powerful enemy and emerged victorious, not because we sought conflict, but because we refused to surrender. The Leviathan is not just a weapon. It is a symbol of our unity, our resilience, and our potential. Together, we will protect our planet and forge a future among the stars." His words resonated across the globe, inspiring millions. For the first time, nations set aside their differences, pooling resources and expertise to support the Leviathan's mission. Scientists, engineers, and strategists from every corner of Earth joined the effort, working side by side to prepare for what lay ahead. Rachel watched the broadcast from the ship's observation deck, feeling a mixture of pride and responsibility. Humanity had risen to the challenge, but the road ahead would be long and uncertain. She thought about the ancient civilization that had built the Leviathan, how they had faced similar trials and entrusted their legacy to future generations. Now, it was humanity's turn to carry that torch. One evening, as the crew gathered in the mess hall for a rare moment of rest, Mark Evans broke the silence. "Do you think we'll ever find them?" he asked, referring to the mysterious ancestors who had created the ship. Rachel smiled faintly. "Maybe. Or maybe they're watching us right now, waiting to see if we're worthy of their gift." Jack nodded. "Either way, we've got a job to do. Whether it's protecting Earth or exploring the galaxy, we owe it to them and to ourselves to make the most of this chance." Days turned into weeks, and the Leviathan grew stronger. Its shields were reinforced, its weapons upgraded, and its engines fine-tuned for maximum efficiency. The crew became more cohesive, their bond forged through shared struggles and triumphs. They weren't just individuals anymore, they were a team, united by a common purpose. Then one day, sensors detected movement near the edge of the solar system. Aegis's voice echoed through the corridors. Multiple contacts detected. Approach vector consistent with non-hostile intent. The crew rushed to the control room, their hearts pounding. On the holographic display, a fleet of unfamiliar ships appeared, smaller and sleeker than the Krill's warships. Their designs were elegant, almost organic, glowing softly in the darkness of space. "They're hailing us," Laura announced, her voice tinged with excitement. "They're using the same language as the Valens." The message came through clearly this time, accompanied by a holographic image of the speaker. A tall, slender being with luminous skin and wide, expressive eyes. It introduced itself as part of the Xanthari Alliance, a coalition of species dedicated to maintaining peace in the galaxy. "We heard of your victory against the Krill," the being said, its tone respectful. "You fought bravely and you showed restraint. That is rare among newcomers to the stars." Rachel stepped forward, speaking carefully. "Thank you. We didn't seek conflict, but we won't back down when threatened. We want to learn, to grow, and to contribute to the galaxy." The Xanthari representative nodded. "Your actions have earned our attention. Perhaps there is a place for you among us. But beware. The Krill are relentless. They will not forget this defeat." With that, the Xanthari fleet departed, leaving behind coordinates for a nearby neutral zone where further discussions could take place. The crew erupted into cheers, their spirits lifted by the prospect of allies in the vast unknown. But Rachel knew the journey was far from over. The Krill Empire remained a looming threat, and there were countless other dangers lurking in the galaxy. Still, she felt a sense of hope she hadn't felt before. Humanity had proven it could adapt, survive, and thrive, even in the face of overwhelming odds. As the Leviathan sailed toward the designated meeting point, Rachel stood on the observation deck once more, gazing out at the endless expanse of stars. She thought about all they had accomplished and all they had yet to discover. The galaxy was vast and full of wonders and challenges, but humanity was ready. Jack joined her, leaning against the railing. "Feels good, doesn't it?" "Knowing we've made a difference," Rachel smiled. "It does, but this is just the beginning. There's so much more out there waiting for us." Jack chuckled softly. "Well, whatever comes next, I'm glad we're facing it together." Together, the crew of the Leviathan looked to the horizon, their hearts filled with determination and wonder. They had awakened a sleeping giant, and in doing so, they had awakened humanity's potential. The galaxy was no longer a distant dream. It was their home, their destiny, and their future. And as the Leviathan soared through the void, its engines humming with power, Rachel knew one thing for certain: Earth's journey among the stars had only just begun.